Welcome back to the Off-Campus Podcast, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, I was joined by Johnny Granfield to discuss Rule 9 of the 12 Rules for Life book by Jordan Peterson. And that rule is, assume the person you are listening to might know something that you don't. This is one of my favorite rules. I've learned it in the past year with the podcast. People will teach you a lot if you're just willing to listen. We talked about if there's such thing as a stupid question, if humans are losing that one-on-one connection that they used to get very easily and now it's more difficult due to social media and phones, the biggest mistake people make in their 20s, and what you can learn from someone who is less informed on a topic than you. Johnny is my coworker. He's the only person I work with, so we are very close. I see him all the time. We talk about this stuff all the time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Off-Campus Podcast. I'm here with Johnny Joseph Granfield V.
King John Joseph Granfield V.
King. To talk about Rule 9, which is assume the person you are listening to might know something that you don't. So, my first question to you is, how do you approach conversations with a genuine openness to the possibility that the other person might know unique knowledge or insights?
Okay. First of all, I'm going to introduce myself. I got to introduce myself.
Well, I do that in the intro, but anyway, you can do it anyway.
All right, I'll do it anyway. I appreciate you having me on the pod. For those who don't know me, I'm Joey's dad.
Nope.
We work together pretty much every day, and I've been following his podcast for a while now, and I really like what he's doing. So I'm excited to be here, and I appreciate you having me on, brother.
Of course.
All right, ask the question again because I wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
I just came straight from work. That's why I look horrible. I got no hair gel in, nothing. I'm embarrassed.
That's okay. You are a person who asks a lot of questions, and not many people are like that. So my question was, how do you approach conversations with a genuine openness to the possibility that the other person might have unique knowledge or insights?
Yeah, it's tough. So this year, I've learned a lot, and obviously being around you and your dad and stuff like that has definitely helped me with that. But if you asked my parents if I was a good listener a year ago, they would say absolutely not. I still asked a lot of questions. I always ask a lot of questions, but before I would ask questions to fight the answer that they would have. I'd always ask for their certain opinion and then tell them that they were wrong, and then tell them my opinion and act like I was always right. And a lot of it was just fun. Murph's a lot like that too, who you just had on. He'll always tell you his opinion. So asking questions is definitely the easy part, I would say, because I think that there's more than just asking a question. Being able to be a good listener is definitely a much more important part of that process of asking the questions. And like I said, this past year, I've learned a lot from it, and especially from your father. So to answer your question, there's a lot of people that I surround myself with that are very successful, and not even just successful, like just different people from different cultures. And I think I get a lot of that from the military. When I was in the military, there was people from all over the world, and people just different ways of life, different ways of thinking, different beliefs. And that kind of opened my eyes to understanding that even if you're open to people's opinions or beliefs or anything like that, it may not align with yours, but it's good to understand that, and it'll change your perspective. Even if it doesn't change your mind or your belief or your opinion, it'll change your perspective as to the way that they think, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I've kind of learned, like, listening to people. When I listen to people, a lot of the times I'm just listening to give an answer back, and I already know what I'm going to say before I even listen to them. But yeah, recently, within the past year, I've learned, especially with the podcast, like, it is hard because when the other person's talking, I know I need to answer. I need to say something after, so I kind of already have something to say after whatever you're done saying what you're going to say. But yeah, I've learned that it's easier to just, well, it's not easier, but it's more important to just listen to the person. Have something in the back that if you have no response, you're going to say, but definitely listen. And where do you get the asking questions from? Because no one asks questions like you do.
Honestly, yeah, I always ask questions, and to go into what you said, like we do that a lot with each other, where we ask each other questions basically just to give our opinion. Like we don't even really care what the other person's talking about, and a lot of that, a lot of that comes with talking shit to each other and stuff like that. But I mean, I asked you a question today, and I was like, before I was finished the question, I was like, well, by the way, there's only one right answer. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's definitely, what type of question you're asking. But a big reason why I ask a lot of questions is when I was in college, I went to UMass Lowell right down the street. I didn't want to just go to class, and then I didn't live on campus. I didn't have a ton of friends that went there. So I was like, I got to work. I've always been kind of the type that just wanted to work. So my dad kind of told me that I should start my own construction business. I knew enough about construction to be able to do it, but I really didn't know that much. And so it was like every day, every little thing that came up, like I was in this customer's house and I was the business owner at the time, and I didn't really know how to do everything exactly the way I was supposed to. I would call my dad probably 55 times a day and just ask him a question, and then I would just learn. And at that time, it was nice because it was rewarding, right? Because I would ask him a question, I would do it, and then I would get paid for it. You know what I mean? So it was kind of easy to learn how to ask questions like that. And then, you start realizing that, like, man, I really don't know a lot about this specific situation or this job, and so now it's so easy for me to just, if I don't know anything, I ask you questions all the time, and because there's certain things that you know that I don't know, even though you're younger than me, it doesn't matter. So it's easy and it's fun for me to ask questions and learn.
Yeah. Usually when you have a question, especially in a group of people, it's a little different what you were saying, but saying like high school, if you have a question, likely 95% of the people in that class also are wondering the same thing, but everyone's too scared to ask.
Right.
So then once you ask, it kind of loosens everyone up and they all get the answer that they wanted. And there's no real stupid question unless you're asking a question that you're not listening to the answer, which, unfortunately, I think is what most people do. They just ask questions and they already have the answer. Like you said, like we basically ask each other questions because we want to bring up the topic and say what we think about it.
Right.
And you always tell me stories about people like asking you for advice.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you ask advice from?
A lot of times, I go to you and your dad. I go to my dad. I go to Murph, who you had on your podcast on the last episode. Those are people that I look up to, of course. And they're between, like, obviously you're younger than me, but my dad, Murph, and Joe are all people that grew up differently, grew up with different families, grew up with different experiences, whether it be, construction and a split household, or, your dad who started his own company really young and is very successful, and Murph with his, the drug addiction, that experience. Like, I go to people like them for like business advice and stuff like that. And when it comes to relationship advice, I do go to those guys too, but I go to Morgan a lot. She's really good at understanding people and kind of, she knows me best, you know what I mean? And those three people, Murph, my dad, and Joe also know me well, where I think that if I go to them for advice, they can take it in the sense of like, hey, I know who you are and I know how you act. So I feel like those four people, and you too, now that, we're a lot closer, you guys can kind of be in my head a little bit and know how I'm thinking, and you guys can give me good advice through that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At my age, I feel like none of my friends really ask for advice because we don't really have the super crazy issues going on in our lives. Most of our lives are just pretty calm. We just float through, do what we got to do. And none of my friends really ask me for advice, and I don't really ask my friends for advice, but I would if I had any questions. It's important to like have people that you're willing or that will give you the honest answer. Because a lot of people that you're not close to, if you ask them for advice, they're going to tell you to do what's best for them, not what's best for you.
Right.
A lot of people do that. Or they'll tell you to do something that's easy, like the easiest path that's not actually the best, just to make you happy. And,
right.
That's not great for you in the long run.
Yeah, and you talk about how it's your age, and I would say less your age than it is than the phase of life that your age group is going through, right? Like when you were 16, you'd probably ask your dad for advice on how to drive, right? How to parallel park, what he would do, you know what I mean? But But right now, I mean, you're an exception where you started your life a little bit earlier than most of your friends. But, you know, a lot of your friends are kind of just waking up in their dorm room, getting all their shit in their backpack, walking to class. After class, they might hit the gym, maybe go drink a little. You know what I mean? Like, there's no...
True.
Dude, the college lifestyle is so easy that it's like, what are you going to ask advice for? You know, what class to take?
Yeah, especially, I think even more in high school, but in college, everyone does the same thing. And if you do anything different, you're like viewed as weird. And so everyone just does what everyone does.
Right.
So there's no question what to do because
Right.
everyone's already going through it. How do you go about conversations where you fundamentally disagree with someone? Because I know it's very easy to go into those conversations with a combative mindset and you want to argue. And I don't know if you do, but that's how I feel sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I already know what I believe, and but I know it's always good to have those conversations with people, even if you aren't going to agree on anything. How do you go about making that a productive conversation anyway?
It's war. You know what I mean? It's war, bro. I go in and try to win, dog. No, it's tough, right? It definitely depends on your audience, and I think that's definitely going to be a main key tonight when we're talking about this kind of stuff, right? Like if I don't agree with you, I think that conversation is going to go a lot better than if I don't agree with my girlfriend, right? Because there's certain things that like me and my girlfriend need to agree on, and if we don't, then it's like, oh boy, like this conversation is probably not going to be that fun, you know? If me and you have a disagreement on something, then like, unless it's like work related, then it's going to be more of a fun conversation than anything, right? But yeah, definitely like for work and for business to like go into a conversation where you don't agree, it's going to be tough because there's going to be emotion involved, I'm sure, especially, you know, business, relationships, stuff like that. When you have kids, I'm sure, I don't have kids, but I'm sure, you know, on how to raise your kids, those conversations when you don't agree with the person that you're raising them with, I'm sure those conversations aren't easy, but you really got to go into it with an open mind. And this is something that I've really, really been trying to work on this year because, like, for business, it's pretty easy. You know, I have really good people around me in business, but, like, I'm in a relationship, you know, with a girl that I've been with for 7 years. And from, you know, I started dating her when I was like 18 and now I'm 25. And it's like the amount I've changed from 18 to 25 is more than I changed from 0 to 18, I feel like, you know what I mean? So, and then same with her. So, you know, we're trying to figure out a future and the way of life that we each, so it's difficult. And I actually went to your dad earlier this year and I had texted him. I was at the gym one day and I texted him and I was like, I feel like I'm doing something right, and she's telling me that it's not right, but I'm doing it for her. Like I just don't understand how to understand her. You know what I mean? And you know, your dad's a good person, where it's like I feel like he is always pretty confident in the way that he does things and the decisions that he makes. He's always very confident in the decisions that he makes, and so that's why I went to him for that advice. And you know, he gave me some good advice, and he ended up, you know, kind of just telling me that you need to be more understanding and have more of an open mind. Because for a while, especially, you know, as a kid, young punk, you know what I mean? I wasn't very open-minded and very strongly opinionated. That's kind of comes with hanging out with Murph, too, a little bit. But, so yeah, and he ended up telling me to go to that group, which isn't something I would normally do, but that was kind of like, this is the first step. I got to be like, you know what? I got to be a little more open-minded, like mine as well, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's actually changed me to the point where, like, I definitely like the person I've become because of that. But it's still something that every day I work on to try to be more understanding. Especially, you know, you have a girlfriend, more than likely, like, she's going to strike a different nerve that kind of gets you fired up a little bit faster than somebody like you would. But
oh yeah,
it's hard to control those emotions, but you got to try to keep emotions out of it.
Yeah, it's hard with trying to help someone else because often they have an idea of what they think is best for them, what they want you to do for them. And then when that goes against what you think is best for them, it's like, what do you do? It's hard to figure that out. And you did mention that it's hard to like get to know her and really know what she wants and stuff. But Peterson in this entire chapter was basically saying, like, if you listen to people, like truly listen to people, they'll tell you everything about them, all of their issues. And so if you want to do the best for someone, you really need to listen to them. And I actually recorded the other day a podcast by myself like lessons I've learned 1 year in podcasting, and it's crazy how much my mind has shifted just from listening to other podcasts and doing this one. Modern Wisdom by Chris Williamson. I've listened to like 3,300 minutes this year.
Yeah, Spotify Wrapped.
I love it.
Number one.
And I don't know, just the people that he has on, my mindset's changed completely with business, with satisfaction, like how to be happy. Because I don't know, I've always had the idea that it's like sacrifice now for later.
Right.
Sacrifice happiness now to be happy later. But you really don't have to. You can be happy now and be happy later.
Right.
And I don't know, that goes with business and with like your mindset, satisfaction, a whole bunch of other stuff I've changed my mind on, that just because I've had an open mind. And I've learned to have an open mind because I was into politics quite a bit a few years ago, and, you know, no one in politics has an open mind.
Yeah. You want to talk about the opposite of open-minded?
Even myself. And I always thought, I mean, if you asked me then, I would have said I have an open mind, but
yeah,
you really don't. You really don't. But on like listening to people, it is quite an investment to like truly listen to people, because you have to be physically with them. Actually, that's a good question. Do you think that you can truly listen to someone and help them? Like you listened to the chapter with me with Jordan Peterson.
Yeah,
he was
so boring. The guy's an absolute nerd. I'm not a fan of it, but he's very smart and very, very intelligent, and I agree with a lot of things that he says. It's just so boring, but go ahead.
Yeah. I don't think it's boring. But he was talking about in psychotherapy, he has to sit down with the patients and like face to face. They say something to him. He doesn't even have to say anything back, but they see his facial expressions when they say something, and they know, oh, that like struck a nerve with him. He didn't like that. He thinks that's weird. He thinks that's bad. Do you think that you can get that over the phone, or do you think it needs to be in person?
Yeah, this is a great question because, you know, I have a lot of experience with this, being that my relationship is a long-distance relationship. From Colorado to New Hampshire on the phone every night, watching TV shows over FaceTime, and it's ridiculous. But it's way, way, way easier in person. Like and honestly, sometimes it's even easier texting than it is on the phone. It's really weird. It's hard. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my relationship. Maybe it's the other person in my relationship. I don't know. But over the phone's definitely way harder than in person. But I don't think that means that you can't listen to them. You know what I mean? I feel like you can listen to anybody no matter what, whether it's a text, whether it's an email, whether it's any, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and he was actually, like, to confirm that, he was basically saying you a lot of the times you don't even have to say anything. What people need is someone to talk to really, like, I don't know, I've said this plenty of times. One of the best things that's come from this podcast is me talking about what I believe and then really being able to like put it into words, and that solidifies it.
Right.
And it really strengthens my beliefs. And I don't know if that can happen with people's problems, people talking about their problems, and they just need someone to listen. Not even really to listen, but just to be there so that I can, like, I'm not going to do this just by myself.
Right.
I can talk about stuff, but we bounce back and forth. But even if you weren't talking, I'm talking to you, and I'm able to go through my problems, maybe figure it out literally just from talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I agree with Jordan Peterson, too, when he says, like, you know, being in person. You know, sometimes, like, especially in a relationship when it's, you know, your significant other, it's sometimes they might just need a hug. And you can't do that over the phone. And so instead you start screaming at each other. You know what I mean? It's crazy. and there's some truth to the fact that, like, you know, if you're doing it over a text message or something like that, you know, you could read something and you could get fired up. But then, like, you can take the time to kind of, like, before you respond, you can kind of, like, calm down a little bit and take the emotion out of it and then respond. So there's that kind of helps. So I definitely think over the phone is difficult. But I also, going to do a different, what you were saying, I think what you had mentioned about talking through your problems and stuff like that and having somebody to go to and listen to you and stuff like that, I think that's great. I think that's awesome as long as you're using it the right way. I think that a lot of bad can come out of that as well, depending on the way you use it. Like, a lot of people that go to therapy, they go to therapy just to talk about their problems. And then
just for sympathy.
Right. And even if that's okay, if that's you, but to go and just talk about your problems, that means like you're focusing on your problems. And I'm kind of the type of person that believes in not focusing on your problems and focusing on positivity. You know what I mean? At least that's how I work. That's how my brain works. Definitely good to talk about your problems, right? Even if you're in business, we sit down every morning, we talk in business and we go through our problems, what we're doing good, what we're doing bad. I think that's great. But when it comes to just talking about your problems, then your brain kind of gets into this cycle of, hey, I'm going to therapy on Thursday, so let me prep for therapy on Thursday. And then you start thinking about the negatives, and then you're nitpicking little things so that way you have stuff to talk about on Thursday. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that can kind of, Andrew Tate talks about it a lot. And he's like, yeah, some guy committed suicide after 9 years of just going to therapy, talking about all the negative things in his life, always thinking negative, never doing anything to be positive. And then finally, like, he committed suicide. And it's like, Andrew Tate's like, yeah, I would do it too, you know?
Yeah, you got nothing positive in your life. Or you do, but you're not focusing on it.
Right. So I think, when it comes to therapy and sitting down and talking to people, like, it's okay to, like, talk about the good things in your life too, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's how I feel.
I actually heard a stat today that if you, in the morning, think of 5 things you're grateful for, your happiness levels will go up the same amount as if your salary doubled.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, those are some pretty crazy scientific researches. They'd say that if you wake up and you take a cold shower, you'd be happier too, and I'd be miserable. So,
well, for different reasons. Just because you think of 5 things you're grateful for,
right?
And, I don't know. You're going to be more happy.
Yeah.
Because you're forced to think every morning, what do I have to be thankful for? Because it's crazy how negative people are.
Yeah. And
I used to be kind of a complainer, and now I can't stand it. Every time, there's those people. Mm-hmm. They just, I don't know, they're always upset over something.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but how do you think, what's the difference between listening to someone and giving someone advice?
Yeah, this is a good one. These are all good points, but man, there's sometimes, especially as men, we think very logically. And especially if you're dealing with somebody who is a female, might be a little bit more emotional. And even, some guys are a little bit more emotional. And so there's some times where, like, for me in my life, a girl comes to me for me to listen to her, right? And the logical person that I am has to go and give them advice right away, right? Tell them, like, well, this is what you can do to fix it. And then, like, by the time that I'm done telling them what they can do to fix it, and then it's like, I just needed to tell you. I just needed to vent. I just needed you to listen. Sometimes I just need you to hug me or whatever. And I'm just like, well, do this to fix it, It's like, so, you got to kind of find that line, at least in my experience, of course, this is just, I'm 25, I'm young, but I got a lot to learn about, relationships and how they work. But it's definitely one of those things where it's like, you kind of got to feel it out, because a lot of the times they don't just come up to you and be like, hey, by the way, I want to tell you something. I don't want advice. I just want you to listen. Very rarely that happens. Usually they just go right into it, right? And then you got to try to figure that out. And as a logical person, it's hard to just listen sometimes.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro has this thing that he says with his wife. If his wife comes to him with a problem, he asks, do you want a solution or do you want me to listen?
Yeah, right. And his wife's like, really, dude?
Well, I mean, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It depends how he says it, but yeah, I mean, it's like, no. Just want to listen this time.
Yeah.
Don't want a solution.
Yeah.
How do you push away biases? And obviously, you've lived your life. Everyone has an experience that they've lived through, multiple experiences, but they've lived their whole lives. So when it comes up to certain topics, they have certain biases back and forth. How do you push those away in conversations with people that might have different ones?
Yeah, that kind of goes along with the, being more understanding, right? Like, because we all have biases. Everybody has a bias, right? Patrick Mahomes was bawling his eyes out the other day because of the offsides call. I had money on the Chiefs. I was with them. I was bawling my eyes out with them, bro. But then, a couple of days later, I'm like, yeah, okay, he was offsides. They should have called it. But no, you have to be willing to listen, and you have to be able to see it from both sides. And we've had a lot of great conversations throughout this year about things that I had biases on that were completely different than your biases, right? We've had a lot of talks about religion and things that come along with religion and, marriage. Every day we try to talk about something, that me and you probably don't agree on. And Definitely Murph, who was on this podcast last time, had changed my mind on a lot of that because, especially religion, and you were talking about afterlife all the time and stuff like that. And, I don't agree with a lot of the things, or I didn't agree. And then, me and Murph are talking, and Murph's like, dude, I'm sitting here on planet Earth talking to you through these headsets with this microphone with the board that has all these different lights that do all these different things. It could turn my voice into, Optimus Prime. It's like, dude, what is there to say that, like, something that you say, like, I can just say, like, nah, dude, that's completely unreasonable. Like, I'm sitting here right now. Yeah. It's unreasonable for me to be sitting here listening to you through this microphone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just kind of opened my eyes, when he said that, to like, yeah, man, it's no matter what, everything's kind of crazy.
Everything. Dude, I always think about, and when I was younger, I didn't think about it on like a much larger scale, but the fact that like this skyscrapers, how does someone make how does someone like make this? Like how does this just happen from stuff we can find out in the world?
Yeah.
It makes no sense at all. About asking questions. Have you always been the type of person to ask questions, or you kind of talked about it? But with that construction, is that something that you developed, or were you always the type to ask questions?
It's a good question. I mean, growing up, I don't know. I've been fortunate where I was raised in a good family, and I'm like, my parents are like some of my best friends, so it's always been easy to talk to people for me. And I grew up, ref and flag football was a great job to kind of be social and stuff like that. But in terms of like asking questions, I don't really remember before, the construction business or the military was a big one. I think before that, like, yeah, I mean, we're all sitting in class, right? And you have a question and you're like, oh man, I don't want to ask this question because I don't want to sound like an idiot, Like there's a lot of that. And I think just until recently, I kind of learned that, like, even if you're in a group setting and you have a question, like, it's still okay to ask. Because like you said, 95% of the people that are sitting there probably have the same question, and all of them are thinking the same thing. They're all scared to ask that question. I actually learned a lot about that in group. Mm-hmm. We were asking questions, and I'd ask a question, and everybody would kind of chime in from there, and it's like, oh, okay, so they were kind of thinking it too,
Yeah, people don't even they won't judge you as much as you think either. There's this whole idea where no one really cares about you, and that's kind of a good thing, because I have talked about it plenty of times on this podcast, but I'm not in a whole lot of eyes right now. So if I fail miserably, if I upload a podcast that sucks, it doesn't matter, because like no one's seeing it. I mean, other than people who care about me and aren't going to judge me for it anyway.
Right.
So there's something to say about people really not caring about you. Most people are just too busy or too selfish to really care about what you're doing. Like, you think at the gym, a lot of people at the gym, if they're new, they don't want to go to the gym because they think they're going to get embarrassed. People are going to judge them for lifting tiny weights, or they're not going to be using this machine right. But, like, seriously, people don't care. They just don't care.
Right.
They'll look at you for 30 seconds, then they'll be like, okay, back to my workout.
Yeah, right.
They just don't care. They're never going to think of you again.
Right.
So
unless you're taking up 3 machines at the same time when I'm trying to hit legs, then that's ridiculous, and I judge you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah, and you share it and say, who is this?
Yeah.
Who is this girl?
Yeah.
What is the greatest lesson you learned from the military?
Greatest lesson I learned from the military. See, the military was cool for me because I grew up in Pelham, small town, right? No, I had all the same friends since I was 4 years old. No, didn't really meet anybody else outside of the military. So I wouldn't say necessarily the military, because the military, you kind of just go. You just don't talk. Just listen to them. Do whatever they say, right? Do whatever you can to not get in trouble. It was more so like meeting the people, and the people teaching me, like, just that there's so many different things in the world, different people, different, ways of life. And, you kind of just, when you go to basic training, you're trapped with the same 50 guys, all from different areas of the world. I went in with one guy that I knew, and I was hanging out with people from Mississippi to Texas to Washington State, and they all had a different way of life. They were all raised differently. Some of them had kids, some of them didn't. it was cool. I learned more from the people in the military than I did from the military itself. And that's why, like, a lot of people, like, will like this. This is called the off-campus podcast, right? All the things that you learn off campus. I don't hate when people go to school and they go for like a stupid degree. That drives me nuts. But at the same time, like, you do learn a lot from the people in college, and you learn a lot in college as opposed to like exactly what you're studying. You know what I mean? I felt like the same way in the military. Like, I didn't learn a ton from the military, but I learned a lot from the people in the military, which I'll forever be grateful for sure.
Yeah, one of the good things about people living on campus is that they get like the social life. They can meet a lot of people that might be useful to them in the future, or just good friends in the future. And plus they get the whole experience of living alone, sorta, living on their own and taking care of themselves, sorta.
Yeah.
Not exactly, but I mean, yeah, you learn how to talk to people, find roommates. I don't know. There's a lot to learn. Is there any time that you were about to make a decision and then someone's advice changed your mind?
Yeah. Well, going to the military, right? Because it was either go to the military, go away. You know, I would skip a semester of school, right, coming out of high school, and I would skip a semester of school because I would have to go to basic training. And then when I got back from basic training, I would then go to school from there, and I would basically go for virtually free because the military pays for it. And it sounds great, but from a kid I didn't really have a tough childhood at all, So it kind of came down to the decision of like, I want to go to the military and do all this, but then I got scared. I didn't want to go. I was like, this is terrifying. This is not me. I don't want to leave. A big thing was like, why can't I just be like a regular kid and just go to school, right? Whatever, I'll pay student debt, whatever. I'll make enough money to do that someday, I'm sure. And then my dad's advice was like, yo, you got to do the hard thing, and you got to do this for you. And it was tough, man. But I ended up deciding to go the military route, and it was the best thing for me. And now I would recommend it to anybody, of course. It worked out really well for me. I went to school for free and have no college debt. That's huge, especially nowadays. But definitely his advice. And my dad's always been that guy to kind of play devil's advocate a little bit, but always advise me to do the right thing. It was starting the construction business. That was my dad's idea. Then it was to go and flip houses, right? And at first he was like, why are you going to go flip houses? You get all this, you got the skill now. Why don't you just do, $40,000 kitchens? And I'm like, I want to do this. And he's like, all right, yeah, I agree. Go and do it. And then I do it. And after the first one, he'd be like, dude, this is awesome. I'm so glad you did it. And then it was with Joe, because then it was like flipping houses was going well. He's like, why don't you just keep flipping houses? And I'm like, no, this is what I want to do. And then he's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. And then I did it. And then after 6 months, he's like, dude, this is awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's always been that guy for me that would, whenever it got hard, whenever the decisions got hard, he would advise me one way or the other. And the military one was definitely the big one because I was set. I was like, I'm going to Riviera. I don't even care what I take. I just don't want to leave for 6 months and just get bossed around by this dude in a uniform,
Yeah.
And he advised me to do it, and it was definitely the best decision that I made.
I'm trying to think of like stuff in my life that I've gotten advice from, but honestly, there's not that much. My life has been
coddled your whole life.
My life has been pretty easy, I guess. I don't know. I mean, like going to BG, I already knew some people in Pelham and just knew that it was a breeze. It was like kindergarten, Pelham High School. I mean, I'm sure you can attest to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my parents thought, like, you should have some sort of challenge. So
yeah,
Bishop Guerin was.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from there, but like you said with the military, like I didn't really learn as much from the school.
Mm-hmm.
I did, but I learned more from the people. And still my best friends are, I mean, it's only been like 3 or 4 years, but still my best friends are from Bishop Guerin. Great people. Why did you never have a real job?
All right, hold on. Before we go to that, let me ask you a question. You ever make any bad decisions that your parents advised you against that you were grateful for?
That I was grateful that my parents told me not to?
Right, yeah.
But I did it anyway?
No, you made some bad decisions, and your parents advised you against them, and you're grateful for that.
Yeah.
You don't want to say it on the podcast?
No, I don't care. I was smoking weed a lot, and well, the thing is, they didn't know. Like
Yeah.
they didn't know I was, but when they found out, they forced me not to. But I'm very glad. I'm glad now. I wasn't at the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, I was in high school. Like, you know, I don't know. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. There's probably been more. I'm trying to think. Maybe with some girls. My mom's really good with that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like with me, with girls, it's always very difficult. It's always difficult. And then my mom comes by and she's like, yeah, if it's difficult at the beginning, it's probably not the best. And then I'm like, yeah, you're right. And it sucks, but like I'm grateful now.
Right.
I don't know. I'm very grateful that I don't have a girlfriend right now. A year ago, I was very lonely and I really wanted one.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was time and I thought I was mature now. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm mature now, but who knows? In 2 years, I'm going to
Say it again.
say I was an idiot.
Yeah.
But now I notice, like, if I had a girlfriend right now, I wouldn't have time to do this podcast. I was
Right.
up till like 11:30 last night just editing the solo one that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just too much right now.
Yeah, no time, no freedom, no money, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, well, I got some money, but, you know.
Or if you get a girlfriend, it all goes away, bro.
Yeah, the time is the biggest thing for me, though. Like,
Yeah.
I would like to. That is dangerous too, because I would like to spoil my girlfriend if I had one.
Of course, yeah.
So it is a bit dangerous. What do you think you can learn? Well, did you even answer my question?
No, I didn't, because I had to ask you that question. You asked me why I never had a real job.
Yeah, why did you never have a real job?
It's so disrespectful of you to say.
I purposefully worded it like that because I knew you'd take offense to it.
All right, real job. I started reffing flag football. Best job ever.
I actually would count that as a real job.
Yeah, that you had a schedule, you had to be there.
Yeah, but you were like 14.
Yeah, no, I was just playing catch with football
Yeah.
all day, pretty much. But no, that definitely taught me a lot. But no, I don't know. I mean, I went right to college after high school, and so in college, I wanted to have a job, but like at the same time, I was going full time to school, so I couldn't really like get hours. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with like a real job, so to say. Like I think there's plenty of real jobs out there that are great for people, and certain people out there that are great for real jobs. I've just never had one because of the construction kind of led towards flipping houses, and then like a lot of times like my friends were working with me. Murph worked for me at one point, and I was his boss, and then obviously flipping houses is not like a real job, so to say. I mean, I still had to wake up at 7 a.m. and put 8 to 10 hours a day in, and stuff, and
Yeah.
and then now I work with you and we do the bikes and stuff, so it's I've always enjoyed kind of just being my own boss, not really in that sense, like because a lot of people think like you go and you do the not the real job and you're your own boss and it's so nice because you have all this free time, and it's like,
yeah, okay.
dude, I work more because I'm my own boss, and
Yeah.
Granted, my girlfriend, I'm in a long distance relationship and I have nothing else to do, so I might as well work. But it's I mean, it's not all cracked up to be, I was in the military for a while. That was a real job. You had to wake up and
It's true.
we had to do, everything a 9 to 5 would have to do. But no, I mean, there's definitely some benefits to doing your own thing. But then I'm about to turn 26 with no health insurance,
Boy.
So there's definitely downfalls to doing your own thing too, for sure.
Where do you find the motivation then to like work however long you do? I mean, obviously there's days that we work less and more, but where do you find the motivation to do it? I'd say before you're working with us, because now we're kind of a team, and that's why we're like we just get done what we have to get done. But
Yeah.
why? What was it before when you were in college and you? I mean, I'm sure at that age you weren't like super. You probably weren't focused like too much on your future, so you didn't care as much. I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
it's not like you're working like a dog because you want your future to be best when you're like 17.
Yeah,
you don't
right.
You don't really care at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would like to think that has partly to do with the way that I was raised and, the way that my dad taught me to be. And the people that I surrounded myself with were definitely hard workers. But there was also the sense of like all my friends were at college and I was going right down the street, commuting, not living there. So it was like I was either in school. If I wasn't in school, I might as well work because I don't have any friends around. My girlfriend was away at school. All my best friends were away at school. So it was like, I'm going to stay out of trouble. I was never really into drinking or anything like that. So it was like just go to the gym and go to work were kind of the two things that I did for fun. And at the time, like all my friends, you know, with them being gone, like I had Murph at home. Like I didn't really know him when I first started, but he was like my closest friend at the time because everybody else was gone. So being at work was kind of like hanging with my friends. So, and then at the time, Murph was, you know, he was fresh out of rehab and stuff like that, and he was trying to get clean. And I thought in my mind that, you know, working late nights was going to keep him away from doing bad things. So I would just work late nights. There was nights that we worked till midnight, you know, just because why not? And then got to the point where my friends came home, and then a lot of them were working for me during like COVID years and stuff like that. So then it came time for COVID, and it was like, we're either going to work or we're going to go sit at home and do nothing because nothing's open. So like the weekends were kind of boring for us, and the work days were fun because we were all together. We were all hanging out. We were building decks and stuff like that. And then it kind of switched over to now I want something for my future. And it's also like the line of work that I've always done, right? Flipping houses is the faster you get it done, the faster you get paid. The faster you get it done, the less you pay to get it done because you're paying interest and stuff like that. So the more you make. So it was like if I work all the time, it's going to be done faster and I'm going to get paid faster and I'm probably going to get paid more. So there was always like that kind of extra, that boost, right? And now it kind of that's kind of just my life, you know? I try to work Saturdays and Sundays all the time now and try to work late if I can. And it's a little bit harder now, especially, you know, if we have bikes where we're done at 3 p.m. It's like, what am I supposed to do now? Yeah. Luckily, we got some extra stuff going on right now, but I'm almost afraid to finish it because then I don't want to be bored.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest mistake that people make in their 20s?
Biggest mistake people make in their 20s?
It can be financially or in relationships or anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm 25, right? And I'd like to think that I'm trying to do it right. But, you know, I got good friends that all make good decisions and stuff like that in terms of like drugs and stuff like that. Obviously, like what's the worst mistake people can make? Probably fentanyl, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not really around that. So what I would say like the most common in people that are like kind of have their head on straight, you would say, is just lack of patience and lack of sacrifice is what I see a lot. You know, lack of patience in the sense where it's like people moving out of home really fast. And obviously I'm one to say that, right? Because like I'm really good. I'm close to my family. We all get along. It's easy for me to still live at home, right? And some people don't have that luxury. Financially, I think it just hurts sometimes, right? People moving out and then they're going to pay $2,000 a month on rent and they got to buy their own food now and they got to pay all their utilities and it kind of sets you back. Whereas if like lack of sacrifice is kind of the same thing where it's like, if you just sacrifice that 1 year and just stash away money. So that way, like you can buy a house or, you know, when you go to rent, you're not strapped and you're not living paycheck to paycheck and you're not stressed all the time. And a lot of that's like saving money too, right? A lot of people going out to eat, a lot of people drinking, you know, drinking's awful in terms of like your health and in terms of you go out to dinner and you get 2 or 3 beers and it's like $30 now. It's like, holy crap, just to get a draft Miller Lite, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like you see that and it kind of, you know, I don't drink and smoking weed's the same way. You go to the dispensary and you drop $250 a week on weed, you know, it's like, it's just crazy, you know, and that's what I would say. I mean, you could definitely talk about student debt in there too, where it's stressful and definitely can cripple, but a lot of people don't have a choice, you know? A lot of people feel like that's their only choice.
Why do you think that people think that's the only choice?
It's just the way our world has changed, you know? Some people don't have a choice, right? If you want a certain career that you need a degree in, then you have to go and you have to get that degree. Now, there's certain people that need to go to Penn State or they need to go to Harvard, they need to go to Ivy League, and it's like, why, bro? You get the same degree somewhere else, you know? And I understand there's certain situations where you need to go to a better school for the job, allegedly. Not that really I believe in that, but yeah, it's just sometimes you need it. Sometimes it's like, I mean, the biggest one is some people want to play sports in college. So they go and they get like a sports management degree, or they just end up going for business or whatever because they don't know really what they want to do, but they want to play basketball. They want to play football, for a Division III school, which is cool. I get it, right? But like, it's just, I hate seeing that.
I do too. One of my friends, Zach, plays for Bridgewater, and I mean, I like him, and I think he's going to do well in life. He's a very hard worker. I don't really know his mindset or like what he plans for the future, but he has no time. And it's like a D3 team, I think.
Yep.
It's like, dude, at some point, like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, football's fun, but dude, just play a club team or something.
Right.
Like, you don't. It's cool being on the school team, but that's all your time. School, you're not able to work. You're just stuck. I don't know. You have no freedom.
Yeah, and I mean,
School and football.
Hopefully that brings skills to his life that he can use in the future and stuff like that, and or maybe that's just what he likes to do, right? Maybe he doesn't want to party or go work or anything like that. He just wants to play football and grind, and hopefully that'll help him out in his life, and hopefully he won't regret that. Obviously,
It's definitely worse hobbies than
football for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's just the whole idea of like, I don't know. The thing with school is, even if I went to school for free, it's still basically wasting 4 years of my life.
Yeah.
At least for what I would have gone for. But I do understand people who need to go sometimes. But
yeah, yeah.
I don't think anyone needs to go. But if you want to do something certain, then yeah, of course.
Right, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a nurse.
Yeah,
you need a degree.
I want my doctor to have gone to college.
Yeah, right.
I don't want them to just be a YouTube scholar.
Yeah, opening up my knee.
Although now a lot of them probably just cheat and use ChatGPT, ChatGPT to get through college.
Yeah, we use Chegg.com in college.
I never used Chegg. I never really cheated in high school though.
You would have in college.
Yeah, the thing, what I did in high school is I did an even easier thing, and I just didn't do any work.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't cheat on it, but I also didn't do it.
Just got zeros.
Yeah. My girlfriend would send me the chem homework though, and it was the best, dude.
That's cheating, bro.
Okay, well, all right, that part I cheated, but I would have been able to do it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a good test taker, so I would just have like high test grades, and then or quizzes and test grades, and then homework grade would be like a 30.
Yeah,
because I only do like a third of them.
Bro, everybody cheats in college. Let me tell you, COVID year.
Oh, I know.
COVID year. You want to talk about cheating at an all-time high? Online classes. We'd all go to I forget what that website was called. I don't know, some discussion board website, and we'd all just go on and log on and take the test together. It was mayhem during COVID for school.
Yeah, in my econ class, we got caught cheating because we had like a Google Docs with everyone in the class on it.
Yeah, of course.
And someone ratted.
Oh, the worst.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna reel it a little bit back in.
Okay.
To the listening.
Oh yeah, the boring Jordan Peterson stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you have other stuff to talk about, we can.
No,
but
no.
I think this is a great thing to ask. What can you learn from someone who is not as informed or educated on the topic at hand?
This is great, right? Because we've been having a lot of discussions on religion, and I'm the person that's not very educated at the topic at hand, right?
Yeah.
But I at least the way I thought from being in that position of the person that doesn't know a lot about it is that for those people that are passionate about it and trying to teach a certain discussion, right? Like we use religion as an example. So people that are passionate about that and passionate about teaching it and spreading it, I felt like I was still able to be open with them, so that way they could understand the way that I was feeling. So that way then they could use that with other people, you know what I mean? To teach and spread it to other people. So as a person in it, I didn't feel like intimidated by it at all. I was actually kind of happy to be able to, like, even if I sounded like an idiot, at least they know the way that I'm thinking, and that maybe that could go help them with somebody else. When I'm in their position and I'm talking to somebody less educated about it, it's tough, man, right? Like we do it almost every day, right? Because like I do the construction and you work with me sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to teach you how to do it, and I'm I'm saying all these things and I'm talking about miter cuts and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh man, this dude probably has no idea what I'm talking about. Because at one point I didn't know either.
Well, at least you know that I'm willing to ask you.
Yeah, right.
So you know I'm not going to just be like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. And like we talked about earlier, it definitely depends on your audience. But it depends on the topic and stuff. Like, you definitely, like in construction at least, it's like if I'm trying to tell you something, I'm like, You'll figure. I'll show you when we get back to the job site, right? Like, I'll show you what a miter cut is. It's way easier than me trying to explain it to you and use my hands to make a diagonal and stuff. So, it's just kind of being able to understand the way that person's thinking and try to be able to decipher how you can, make it make sense for them.
Yeah. One thing that you said there that I actually kind of liked is you said when you're the one that's less informed, you purposefully make yourself like open so the other people know that you're listening. And I think that's really important too when listening to people, because it's very easy to just kind of be there and not pay attention. And even if you are paying attention, it's important to like somehow let the person know that you are listening. And you're pretty good at that. Like, I don't know. It's just every time you ask me a question, I know you're hearing every word that I say.
Right.
And I don't know, when I first like wrote this question, like how what you can learn from talking to someone who's less educated, I immediately thought of, well, going to the gym or with wake surfing. We're both experienced in wake surfing. And when you explain it and show someone else how to do it, the stuff that is so easy to you and so natural to you at this point, it kind of gets like refreshed through your mind, and you just see it a different way, or you see it better, or you might see a different way to do it. Like, this happened with lifting weights. Like, someone, I don't know, it's hard to say. I'm like teaching someone how to do bent over rows. They're with a barbell. They're bent over, and I have to like tell them where to position their hands. And then when I see them do it, I'm like, maybe I'm positioning my hands wrong. And we both need to like figure it out. So there's something about like teaching someone something you already know that strengthens your capability of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, where do you see, actually, what are you looking forward to most in 2024? It's nearing the end of 2023.
Okay. What am I looking forward to most in 2024? That's a good question. I mean, I think that this year, I've learned a lot. I think before this year, I was very money based, very like just trying to make as much money as possible and just working hard to do it. Like, I felt like working hard was definitely the fastest way to making the most money. And then after this year, it's definitely being around you guys, you and your dad, and being around Murph and stuff like that. I've learned a lot about myself as a person, how to handle other people, and definitely like where my priorities lie. And I think it's changing every day. So I'm definitely excited for next year to kind of see where that takes me, whether it takes me like more in depth with the priorities that have changed, or if my priorities change again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. I'm really excited to see like where this podcast goes, because who knows? I mean, yeah, I hope so, man.
To the moon.
To the moon. You never know. You never
That's
know.
why this hat's back here, bro.
Yeah. And then my final question.
Final question. Let's hear it. Why do women hate Xbox? I have no idea.
That's a good question. All right, let's talk about that real quick.
I have no idea. It's a trigger. You want to talk about a trigger? Say Xbox around a girl. She'll freak out.
If you want to make your girlfriend mad, tell her you're going to play Xbox with your friend.
Yeah, with the boys.
She's gonna get very upset.
Yeah,
very quickly.
She'd rather me go on a date with another woman than play Xbox with the boys. I don't even get it.
I don't know about that, but maybe. All right, my genuine last question.
Okay.
So I am actually, today was my 7th day in a row going in the lake.
Oh, cold plunge.
Cold plunge.
Yep.
Minus 40 degrees. It's under 40 degrees. Not minus. It's not minus 40. It's under 40 degrees. Why haven't you been doing it?
Why haven't I been doing the cold plunge?
Yeah.
See, growing up, I was taught that if you go outside during the winter without a coat on, you'd get sick. And now you're telling me to go in under 40 degree weather, or under 40 degree water in my skibbies.
You don't have to go in your skivvies, dude.
So I don't know, dude. I don't know. Why am I not doing it?
Because it's a genuine question. Because you are the type that you lift, so you understand the whole premise of do hard things and see the benefits.
Yeah.
You were in the military. Like,
Yeah.
You know this stuff.
Yeah, we've never had to go in cold water.
Well, maybe you should.
I'm gonna try it. I'm definitely gonna try it. I can't have Joe tell me to do it.
Oh, right.
Because it's principle, you know.
Yeah.
If Joe tells me to do it, and then I go do it. I look like a bitch.
Yeah, it's like
I can't do that.
It's like I'll do it, but not because you told me.
Exactly.
But it doesn't work. Like,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can't do that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'll wait for the lake to freeze, and then I'll auger out a hole, and then I'll do it.
No, he wants you to do it for your benefit.
No, I know.
He doesn't want you to do it just because. I mean,
he's
I
doing
kind of want you to do it just to see you do it.
Dude, I'm gonna be freezing. I'm gonna be screaming. I don't like cold water. I wear a wetsuit in July.
Yeah, you are. You are a wimp.
Yes.
It's really just, I don't know. It's not that bad.
No, I actually do want to try it though. More so for me, it's more so because like injuries. I want it to see how it feels on my injuries as opposed to like burning fat or burning calories.
I was truly able to put a word on it today, the feeling after. And about once I get in the house, which is like 2 minutes, 3 minutes after I'm out,
Mhm.
and I kind of am heating up again, it feels like icy hot. It's all over my body, everywhere.
Yeah.
I love it though. It feels so good.
Oh,
The
I see.
shower
That's
after.
the best. Yeah.
It's weird. Like, you know how when you take a shower,
Mhm.
a warm shower, after you get out, your whole body's like warm and nice.
Mhm.
It's the opposite. It's like even after I take the shower, right after, I'm just cold again, freezing cold again.
Yeah. Why do you think I don't do it? Do you think it's a lack of discipline?
Yeah.
That's pretty. That's interesting.
No, I mean, I've only been asking you to do it for the last like 3 days, and we've been pretty busy. So,
What day is it today? It's
Thursday.
December 14th. How many days are in December? 31?
Yeah.
So 17 more days for your boy.
For you to do it,
Nope, for me to get an energy drink. Because I'm disciplined,
my.
baby. I haven't had an energy drink in a full year almost.
do you have any other New Year's resolutions?
To drink as many energy drinks as I can next year.
That is not a resolution.
New Year's resolution. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that yet. I feel like we need to get to Christmas first, and then I can do that. You know, I take it one step at a time, right? You're the type of guy that talks about Christmas before Thanksgiving. I'm the type of guy that wants to eat turkey before I think about Jingle Bells.
I'm not that guy. I don't know why you think I'm that guy. All right, this is this
Don't tell me
podcast
that
is
you're
going
asking
down.
me the last question and then ask me 3 more questions. Okay.
Well, I asked you one, and then you kept bringing up other stuff. So we're done here. Thank you all for listening or watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. It means a whole lot to me, and it takes half a second, and it's free. So thank you for doing that, and I will see you in the next one.